everyone, and welcome to another episode of Little Give. I am thrilled to have our next guest on. Go ahead, introduce yourself. Tell us where you're from. Tell us what you're all about.
Hey, Cindy, thank you so much for having me here. My name is Natalie Silverstein. I am an author, a speaker, a podcast host, a nonprofit founder. I'm just a passionate advocate for family and youth service. I live in New York City with my family.
Wow, that is quite a bit. You got to peel back the layers a little bit. Tell us how you got started with all these amazing things you're working on.
Sure. So I guess it started with my parenting with my 3 children who are now older, but when they were very young, I found that I was really frustrated in the community when I wanted to take them out and volunteer with them. I think I understood instinctively, as most parents do, that the best way to raise kind, compassionate, empathetic kids is to serve with them, to take them out and to meet other people and to volunteer and to do good work. And I found that nonprofits were sort of slamming the door in my face because my kids were little at the time. And I just didn't want to accept that. So I partnered with something called Doing Good Together. It's a national nonprofit based in Minneapolis. And I curate for them now for 12 years or more, a listing of family-friendly volunteer opportunities, which is distributed to thousands of subscribers here in New York City. And then we also have other branches all over the country. And then that led me to write these 2 books, Simple Acts, The Busy Family's Guide to Giving Back. And then the second one was for teenagers, Simple Acts, The Busy Teen's Guide to Making a Difference. So I talked to young people about this work. I talked to parents, educators, camp folks. I talked to everyone about ways that we can help kids to find their purpose and passion through service.
Oh my goodness. I have a huge heart for service. I have a huge heart for nonprofit. So I love what you've created here. And I myself am a mom, and I would take my daughters when they were little and ask, could we go donate our time at Habitat for Humanity and different
Sure.
places? And you're right. They all said like, no, you have
No.
to be this old. And it was a lot of no's. And so I'm
Yep.
so glad that you came up with this. And I also love the books and how it didn't just stop there with that amazing work that you're doing, and you continued on to make these books. And I personally bought this book for my daughter, the teens one for
Thank
my
you.
daughter, who's actually 10. She's not a teen yet, but she's an
Oh,
advanced reader and just loves philanthropy and loves giving back and helping people. So just absolutely loved it. She loved it. I love it. And so we're so grateful for the work that you're doing.
thanks
So
so
tell
much.
us, tell us what your favorite part is about what you do.
Well, my favorite part right now is since the teen book came out a few years back, I started a podcast and I actually interview teen changemakers. So every Wednesday morning, I have a very short podcast, about 15 minutes, with a young person, a tween or a teen. Your daughter is almost a tween. And I interview them about the social impact work that they're doing. It's called Simple Acts, Big Impact, celebrating teen changemakers. And it is just the most inspiring, fulfilling work to hear these young people share their story. It is literally just a platform for them to tell me what happened, what inspired them, why did they start doing this work. It could be something as simple as collecting plastic bottles and turning them into other things. It could be beach cleanups. It could be helping the hungry in their community, helping those who are experiencing homelessness. Many times these young people tell me that something sparked for them when they were very young, like 6 or 7 or 8 years old. And they came home and they saw this problem in their community and they said, I want to do something about it. And they went out and they started either a nonprofit or a fundraiser. It's just incredible. Every single week I get off these calls with these young people, and I'm sure you have this experience, Cindy. And I'm just so inspired and I'm so hopeful and optimistic because I really do believe that kids have this passion and they are going to help us. They're going to really try and change the world with their kind leadership. So the podcast is really my passion right now, and that grew out of my work with the teen book.
Hi, my name is Justin Clark, and I'm the president of the board of directors for Driving Single Parents, a 501c3 nonprofit serving the citizens of San Antonio and Bexar County, Texas. I'm here today to tell you a little bit about the great work that our organization is doing for the citizens of San Antonio. What you're about to see is just a few photos and videos of the way that we're changing lives for single parents in and around San Antonio, Texas. Our first giveaway took place in April of 2017, just one short month after the formation of our organization. John, a Bear County resident, was the victim of a horrible drunk driver incident. He and his daughter survived the crash, and we were so proud to give our first car to this deserving family. Fast forward to 2020, a very difficult year for nonprofits. We were able to secure 4 vehicles for single parents in need. Our organization, including our board of directors, list of partners, and portfolio of people we've been able to help in San Antonio, continues to grow, and it's all thanks to donors and local community organizations that have helped us along the way. This giveaway took place in 2021 and shows that we continue to help single parents even after the struggles brought about by COVID-19. Because of limited funds and the overwhelming need, we at Driving Single Parents are incredibly selective with the people we help. Some are victims of domestic violence. Others had a spouse pass away tragically or otherwise fell on hard times. These single parents show adversity in the face of challenge and aren't looking for a handout. We offer a hand up and help get them back in the driver's seat. Many of the single parents we help go on to graduate college, get promotions, get married, mentor others, and some have even been so touched by the gift we gave them that they have decided to join our board of directors to pay it forward and ensure the continued growth of our organization. If you would like to help our organization continue to grow and continue to help single parents in need in San Antonio, Texas, and Bear County, Texas, we would really appreciate your support. Please visit us online at www.drivingsingleparents.org. Thank you.
Ah, that's beautiful. And I know that's really going to uplift your spirit. Like you're saying, like every Wednesday morning, you're like, wow, this is incredible. And it's true that there's so much bad news out there because bad news sells. And it's something that I try to like combat with this show is to highlight the good people in this world that are doing great things like yourself. And so I can only imagine how much that's helping people feel inspired and feel like, wow, we do have good in this world.
Absolutely. And I would argue that, kids get a bad rap. People think that they're just staring at their phones all the time and they don't really care about others. I absolutely disagree. Every teen that I speak to who is working in this space, they really, really care. And most importantly, and I hope this is what inspires other young people and adults, they take their gifts and their skills and their talents, the things that they enjoy doing, the things that they're good at, and they use those to do good in their community. That's what it's all about, right? It's not about just forcing a kid to go out and volunteer just for the sake of volunteering. Let them have some agency and find the thing that they're passionate about, and then they're going to want to go out there and do this work. So I just think it's really simple and beautiful. I didn't invent the wheel here. I just hope that my words can kind of inspire other people that this is something we really should be doing with our families.
Absolutely. And shining a light on the good, which is what you're
Absolutely.
doing, showing that there are some really great, incredible people in this world, whether they're young
Mhm.
or what age, it doesn't really matter. It's just there's so many great people. And
Absolutely.
if you don't take the time to actually shine a light on that and look for it, then it can easily be mistaken by the media and different outlets that, there's so much bad going on in our
For
world.
sure. For sure.
Definitely. So you started this nonprofit, you're doing that. What was it about your journey that made you think this isn't enough? I need to write these books?
Well, I was doing this work in the community and I became that person, sort of not to age myself, but I became the Rolodex for others in the community. People would stop me on the street or I'd get a random text like, hey, my kid, I have all of this leftover sports equipment. What can I do with it? Or, I'm cleaning up my closet. Where should I donate? Or my kid has a bar mitzvah and they need a project. And I thought to myself, wow, there should be like kind of just an easy, accessible, practical resource guide that just sort of step by step, like almost like a cookbook, right? This is, if you're having a kid's birthday party, here's a way to make it about service. If your kid is having a special milestone or whatever, how to make family traditions around the holidays, right? We all tend to think about giving back and helping others around Thanksgiving and Christmas and Hanukkah. But I would argue that there are people in need in our communities every single day of the year, and that there are so many ways that we can give back every week, every month throughout the year. And so I sort of thought, I'm going to do this. I'm going to put it together in one place. You would be surprised. You'd think there would be so many of these books that there really wouldn't be a need. I did some research, and the last book had actually been written by the woman who started Doing Good Together, but it was like 10 or 12 years old when I started writing my first book, which came out in 2019. So, and I hear from people all the time that, these stories that I share in there, share little stories about my own family doing this work, that they'll leave the book on the coffee table and just sort of let their kids kind of wander over to it, particularly the teen book, which is very colorful and sort of interactive. And they'll kind of flip through and they'll be like, hey, Mom, why don't we do this for my next birthday party or whatever? And that's the best feedback that I can get, is that it inspires young people and children to really want to do this work. So I've always enjoyed writing. I've enjoyed storytelling. I think I'm a pretty decent writer. I do some personal writing and publishing of, other stuff in my life. And I thought, I'm gonna put these in a book to make it easier for everybody. Clearly, there's a need. Folks want to do this work with their kids. They just don't really know how to get started, and they don't want to do the work. I'm sorry to say, everyone's very busy. So I just made it easy for people. Shortcut.
That's awesome. And the ripple effect that this is causing, to where it's, if people know what to do, a lot of times they'll do it. And if they're just
Right.
kind of spinning on like, I want to do something, but I'm not really sure what, and, they
Right.
kind of just stay in that spin mode, but you have a practical guide that could really help them come with some really awesome ideas. So whenever you're writing this book, did it come to you easily, all the things that you wanted to put in it? Or did you struggle a little bit about how to really make it in a fashion to where somebody could really consume the information and take action?
Well, the first book was written for young families. It just so happened that the publisher that I connected with was really all about families with children ages 0 to 10. And so I had to be a little creative on the 0 part, for very, very young children. But I do make the argument, and I think I make it fairly compellingly, that you have to set the tone for this work when your children are very young. So as a
Mhm.
family, this is what we do. We give back. As a family, we volunteer. As a family, we acknowledge different holidays. And this is how we put family service traditions in place for all of these holidays. And so I just, again, creatively thought, well, play dates with purpose, birthday parties with purpose, how to incorporate service into your child's pajama party, right? So you could have everyone, instead of gifts, have everyone bring a pair of new pajamas and donate those. And so it just sort of built from there. And again, these were all conversations I had been having, and it was just kind of putting them all in one place. The teen book, of course, as soon as my first book came out, which was only for families with little kids, I had people come up to me like at the book signing and say, this is great, but I have a teenager and they're just, they really need to give back and get out there and stop staring at their phones. Can you write something for teens? That one was a teeny bit more challenging, if I'm going to be honest. Teens are a little, I didn't want it to be an eye-rolling situation. I wanted it to be taken seriously. I have a teenager now and 2 young adults. And so I really wanted to speak to them in their own language and also give them tools, right? I didn't want to talk down to them, right? They don't need me preaching at them. They have their parents to do that. So there's a chapter in there about how to use social media for good, right? To how to follow, as you mentioned earlier, like follow positive accounts, uplift other people, be positive. Don't kind of go into this negative spiral. Only follow accounts that are kind and that are putting really good energy back out into the world. And so how to, instead of counting your service hours for school, how to make those hours actually count, and to find the thing that you really want to be doing. And the secret sauce for teens, I believe, is doing it in community with others. I think if your teenager can find friends to go and do volunteer work with, they are much more likely, and I think the data shows they're much more likely to want to do this work. On a consistent basis. So the teen book was a bit more of a challenge, but I still was able to kind of come up with it. Again, luckily I had my own in-house research. I had 3 teenagers in the house at the time.
Hi, my name is Andrew Fraley, and I believe that sometimes we all need a little bit of help. If you're in the San Antonio community and you need some legal help, call me at 210-725-4658.
Yeah, that's amazing. And it really did come out fantastic. And you're right. If you could get the kids to do it as a social group
Absolutely.
project that could really not just help them with social life, but then also help them with volunteers and
It should be
whatever.
fun.
Yes,
It
it's
should be
fun,
fun.
and then it gives you that feeling you can't get any other way of like, "Wow, I just did that," Just
100%.
really made an impact,
The
so
helper's high is a
absolutely,
real thing, right? When you do something kind
it's
for
true.
someone else, endorphins actually rush over you. There is a physiological experience of you feeling better about yourself. And I dare say that right now in the world, we could all use a little bit of that.
Absolutely. Oh, well said. Definitely need some more of that. What about your podcast? So again, you do this nonprofit, then you come up with these books, and what made you think, well, now I have to do more. I have to do a podcast.
It's funny. I was a guest on someone else's podcast. I tend to be invited to a lot of podcasts. And I had a wonderful interview with the person. And she said, you should have a podcast. And I thought, no one needs to hear from me. There are so many podcasts in the world. And she said, no, you should talk to teens. No one's really talking to teens because the truth is, I only want to hear these stories from young people. And I sometimes get pitched now because it's in my third season and I won a few awards. And so I'm a little bit out there. And I'll have folks pitch me adults to be on my podcast and I have to write back and say, "Sorry, you're too old." I only I only speak to tweens and teens. I've interviewed some kids as young as like 8 or 9 who are incredibly doing this work out in the world, environmental conservation, like just amazing stuff. And occasionally I'll speak to some college students or young 20s, but that's really my sweet spot. I really just want to amplify and celebrate the stories of these young people. I don't want to hear anything else. And again, I finish these calls and I am so hopeful and I'm so inspired. And the goal here is that other folks will have their kids listen like on the way to school in the morning on a Wednesday morning, because it comes out every Wednesday morning very early, and just listen to how a young person took something that they care about, their passion, the sport that they enjoy doing, the club that they enjoy doing, and the fact that they wanted to share it with others. And if that sparks for a young person, like, I never thought about that. I love to knit. I wonder if there's a way that I could knit and teach other kids how to knit, or I could knit hats for babies in the hospital or blankets for folks in nursing homes. I just want it to be a spark of inspiration for others. And also, honestly, giving these young people the opportunity, the platform to sort of hone their elevators pitch, if you will, the ability to share their story and why they do this work. It's so important. I think these are leadership skills and communication skills and all these great things that they're going to need.
Absolutely, and they can share inspiration at the same time.
For
So
sure.
I love that. I'm so glad you found your sweet spot in this niche, and it's amazing what you're doing.
Thanks.
So you've done this, you've done that, you've done all these things. What's next for you?
I'm not really sure. A couple of years back, I thought to make a calendar to help folks like every day of the year, almost like a planner, to think about, ways that they can incorporate service into their days and their weeks and their months. It wasn't terribly successful because I didn't really promote it or whatever. I just created it and I loved it. It was so beautiful, but then it didn't sell anywhere. So I'm trying to think through different ways that I can sort of take these resources and make them a little more accessible. A book is great, but you have to sort of have a book in your hand, right? So perhaps digital, perhaps an app, something like that. I think there are just limitless opportunities. I'm also very involved with an organization called Riley's Way, which is we literally cultivate the next generation of kind leaders. And so a lot of the Riley's Way fellows, the Call for Kindness fellows are the guests that I have on my podcast. But I'm really very focused right now on helping Riley's Way to grow. I think that Riley's Way can be sort of equivalent to teen leadership and kind leadership and the next generation of kind leaders in the way that we talk about the Points of Light Foundation, for example, is equivalent to volunteerism in our country, or the Peace Corps is equivalent to going out into the world, into the third world, and helping others. So Riley's Way is just a special organization, and I've just recently joined the board there. And I just want to highlight their work because I've really been focusing a lot on helping them to get the message out and to just engage more and more and more young people in becoming part of the community, because it really teaches them all of these skills. There are mentors provided to them, and the leadership skills that they're getting it's just really incredible. And micro grants, so they're given grants between $3,000 and $5,000 to do their social impact in their communities.
That's a beautiful nonprofit. Thank you for featuring that on the show today. What is your favorite part about it?
It's these young people that they recruit. So the call for kindness is this way of submitting an application. If you have an idea to change the world, you have to be between the ages of 13 and 23, and you submit an application. I'm a judge for the call for kindness, and the ideas that these kids come up with, it's just so inspiring. It's incredible. They receive this micro grant. And then we don't stop there, right? We give them the money, they can do the work that they're doing, but then we bring them together in retreats. And again, people come and speak to them and teach them things so that they can really, become a 501c3, develop a website, recruit volunteers, all of the things. Like, these are the tools that they're going to need to change the world, to run nonprofits, to run for office. These are the kids, these big-hearted kids. There's one, these beautiful kids who are going to be our leaders and are going to help us change the world and fix it, because I think we need them right now.
Absolutely. That's such a beautiful thing that you're doing. And I love the fact that it's not just like, oh, here's some money. It's like, okay, here's some money, here's some mentorship, here's how we can help you. Here's how we
Absolutely.
can help you build the whole program that you're trying to make the world better. So that's just such a beautiful nonprofit. I really appreciate you featuring that.
Thank you. No, I'm such a huge fan. That's why I wore my purple today. It was actually created to honor a little girl who unfortunately passed away during summer camp about 10 years ago. And her parents, who experienced just this tremendous loss, instead of turning inward with their pain, which would have been understandable, Riley Sandler was her name, they turned their focus outward. And they decided to honor her because she was a kind and inclusive and wonderful friend. She was only 9 years old. They decided to start this organization to honor her memory and the ways that she would have changed the world by bringing all of these young people together. I can't really imagine a more horrible thing for a parent to have to go through, but then a more beautiful thing to create in your child's memory. And look at the ripple effects. You used that word earlier, right? Look at all of the good that is being put out into the world, to honor Riley. So it's an honor for me and a privilege to be a part of the board and to help to move this work forward. I really do believe that the kids who come out of this program, and now that we're 10 years into it, so now we're already getting to college graduates and beyond, we're going to see that the data is going to be clear that the young people who have been through this program are going to go on and be the kind leaders, the really ethical leaders, people with values and morals. Again, in business and in public life, that's what we need now more than ever.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. That's so painful. I'm sure that they lost their daughter, but the fact that they took their pain and turned it into purpose and have really just done so much to help the community and these young people that, like you said, we need them because they are our future leaders. And whatever we can do to pour into them to help them become the people they're meant to be is just a beautiful, beautiful nonprofit.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for sharing that one. I'm going to
Pleasure.
switch on to my little gift questions. So can you give the audience an example of a little thing that they can do in their community that might just be a little give on their end, but might make a big impact on the other side?
Well, there are obviously a lot of ideas in my books, so it was hard to sort of pick one. But one of the ideas I like to suggest to families with young children, and I would argue that anyone can do this, it's just something that I say for folks with kids, buy a nice big bag and let them decorate it and stuff, but anyone can do this, is to take a bag when you're going to the grocery store and have it be your sort of donation bag. So you know what you need to purchase for yourself. And I totally acknowledge that groceries are very expensive and folks need to take care of their own families. But if you have the means, and if there are any specials happening in the grocery store, there's often buy two, get one free of pasta or canned goods or what have you, especially with children, because I think it's very important to have these conversations as you're moving through your life and walking through the grocery store. So you purchase what you need for yourself, and maybe you're able to get an extra box of pasta or an extra can of vegetables or something, and put it into this bag, and keep it in your car, and sort of wait until it's filled up over the course of some number of weeks, and then go to the local food pantry and donate it. And the interesting thing about that is when you get to the local food pantry, you might want to volunteer some of your time there, right? To help stock the shelves, to help distribute the food. there are hungry folks in every single community in this country. It doesn't matter how wealthy a community is. I promise you, there are people who are experiencing food insecurity or hunger. And there are food pantries literally everywhere. There's an organization called foodpantries.org that you can go and put your zip code in, and you can find out where your local food pantry is. It is up to all of us. It's sort of shameful that in a country we have such tremendous abundance, so much food goes to waste. And I believe that if everyone sort of thought about having enough food for their own family, of course, but if they are able to just share some of that with the folks in their community, as we all know, if a child goes to school hungry, they can't learn. If families don't have enough, they're gonna deny themselves food so that their children will have food. And so just find your local food pantry, keep that bag in your car, fill it as much as you can whenever you can, right? And then drop it off. And then hopefully that will take you down a path of learning more about the food insecurity in your community, about the folks who are doing this work, and you'll want to volunteer even more. So that's just a little thing that I think everyone can do. And again, it doesn't take a lot, but it can make a big difference.
I think that is an amazing, amazing thing to do. So simple and so easy just to take a little bit and just build it up to make a big impact to somebody else out there. And like you said, so many insecurities going on in this world. I myself experienced that growing up. And, we had difficulty even finding transportation to get to the food pantry. So it's amazing that the food pantries are there and they're available, but they rely on the donations of kind people. So
100%. And if you can't afford to make a financial donation, because again, some people really don't have it to give. But again, if it's a 2-for-1 deal and you can manage to get another box of pasta, anything that you can put on the shelf there is going to be used by somebody who needs it.
100%. Ah, beautiful example. Can you give the audience an example of a time in your life where somebody did something little for you that might have just been a little give on their end, but really made an impact on you and in your life?
Well, this is sort of a very personal and vulnerable story that I'm going to share, but it came to mind when you mentioned this, and I really do want to share it. I was on a train once coming back from visiting a friend, and we were in college. It was during the summertime, and I was taking a train from Boston to New Haven, Connecticut, where I lived, and I must have counted my money. Again, money was very tight as when I was growing up, and certainly when I was in college. So I only had, the exact amount that I needed for the train ticket, but I somehow miscalculated, and I was $5 short. And they wouldn't take a check. I mean, these are old times, right? There's no credit cards, no apps, no nothing. It's not like I had access to other things, and I'm already on the train. And the conductor comes by and says, it's whatever, how much it was. And I was $5 short. And I was kind of panicking. And he said, listen, I'm sorry. You have to have the exact amount or you're going to have to get off, 5 stops sooner. And I didn't have a way of getting home and I couldn't ask my parents to come and get me or whatever. And I was panicking in my seat. Like, what was I going to do? And he said, I'm going to leave and come back and we'll sort this out or something. Like, how am I magically going to get $5? It's going to come from the sky, right? So I'm panicking a little and I'm like tearing apart my bag or something. And very quietly, without standing up or saying anything, the person in front of me, in the seat in front of me, slid a $5 bill between the 2 seats.
Aww.
A $5 bill just slid between the 2 seats. And I took it and I said, thank you so much. I can't thank you enough. And they didn't get up. They didn't say anything. They let me maintain my dignity in that moment, right? Which is such an important thing. And
Mm.
again, a whole other conversation we could have about the ways that we give to others. And it's not about shining a light on ourselves, right? It's just about helping someone because we can. And I took the $5 and I was able to get the ticket. And I never actually spoke to the person. They got up and they left at the next stop or whatever. And I just remember that a lot. And I was young and I was foolish and I didn't count my money right. And we don't know what other people are going through at any given moment, right? That person really saved me that day. And I just want to remind everybody that if you see someone struggling or someone's in a store and they're short, if you can, you know, helping them might just change their whole day. And really, it'll make you feel really great too, I hope.
And maybe even more than just their day, because here you are, however many years later, telling the story of this
That's right.
$5. It seems
That's
like
right.
no big deal unless you don't have $5. Then it's a very
That's
big
right.
deal, and it really does
100%.
impact us.
This is what philanthropy is, right? Like it's just having enough and knowing that I have enough that I can share because there are absolutely others who need our help right now. And hopefully someday when they get to a point where they can help others, they will pay that forward.
Absolutely, and you certainly have.
I hope
You
so.
certainly Well, what a beautiful story, and so much great that you're giving to this world. So many good things that you're helping the world with and our young people with. And I just want to give you a big thank you from the bottom of my heart for all the work that you're doing. And you're the exactly the type of people that I love to feature on this show because it's just such a beautiful light in this world, and we need to continue to shine a light on amazing people like you. So thank you for
Thank you
that.
so much, Cindy. And thank you for doing this show. I mean, just the title alone is so special. And again, shining a light, amplifying these stories. Like, I'm very, very grateful that you do this work. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Can you tell the audience where they can find out more about you and all you do? And then also, of course, all the things that you do.
Absolutely. So my website is just simpleactsguide.com. And you can find me on Instagram and Facebook at Simple Acts Guide. If you'd like to check out more about Doing Good Together, because they have wonderful resources for families, it's doinggoodtogether.org. And Riley's Way is rileysway.org.
Ah, I love it so much. All right, everybody out there is listening, please do go get those books, listen to her podcast, and follow all of the amazing work that she's doing. If you are passionate about those nonprofits that she mentioned today, please go visit their websites. And if you can and you're able, donate $1, $5. That amount of money can really make a huge impact based on the number of individuals we have watching this episode today. So please make a donation if you can. Thank you once again, Natalie, for being on. I really enjoyed this conversation, and I look forward to continuing to follow your work from here on out.
Thank you so much, Cindy. This was such a joy. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, everybody who's watching, we'll see you all next week. If you enjoyed this episode of Little Give, head on over to our website at littlegive.com. You'll be able to find all the information about previous episodes and past guests that we've had on. If you or someone you know would like to be a guest on Little Give, all the information is also on the website. And if you have a nonprofit that you love and would like to recommend be on the show, all of that information is also on the website. We really appreciate you watching today, and we can't wait to see you again next week.